unused fixed encounters. There are 2 unused fixed encounters in the game's data, which if you don't know are basically field encounters as well as encounters that you have to do through the story, such as like legendaries and Snorlax sleeping. Anyway, there are 2 of these left over for Scatterbug and Abomasnow, and others from that we have no idea what the context for these were, what would have happened, and how they would have played out or why they were removed. The only other thing that we can speculate on is that it's believed that Abomasnow could have appeared in Route 17. Common Stone. This is an unused item that was cut for unknown reasons, and the description says it's just a regular stone, but then it implies that it's a sellable item because it says that a certain person might find it valuable, albeit it's kind of tongue-in-cheek about it. We know if maybe this is a placeholder of some sort or whatsoever. Again, there's just no other info on this. Missing-O and Luminos. This was something that was kind of talked about a lot when the game first came out that now has been kind of forgotten, and it's a half joke, maybe, but in Luminos, if you look into the entranceways of stores, how it's just a black void, but there's that small little gray speck. That gray speck is shaped pretty closely to Missing-O, which is kind of funny. I doubt it's intentional, but maybe it was, and ooh, spooky. It's just funny to think about. Maybe there could potentially be something more here. Terminus Cave and Chamber of Emptiness scrapped plants. Anybody who's played this game through will know about this and how strange it is and question it. Terminus Cave we've talked about a lot already on this Iceberg. I don't have to say much more. It's the cave where you find Sigard, and yeah, I've written that off to death. The Chamber of Emptiness is another cave, but really it's just one room, and as the name implies, it's completely empty. The only thing you can find in here is a spooky plate, and then later, the Benedite. But you can only find it at a certain specific time, which is really silly, so most players probably never see it. Aside from that, there is absolutely nothing else to it, despite the mysterious and provoking name. As you can guess, by this point, a lot of people thought there has to be an event here, there has to be something here that will happen in Z, but again, just nothing, and the name's a bit too literal, and yet again, this is something that just screams empty, scrapped ideas that give me, vibes of, Giratina on the Dimension Zone, and yeah, this is something that, once again, could possibly just be a joke, question mark, but just didn't fit well and felt like there's supposed to be something here. Coraway Station Destination. So at this location, there's a train that you can't really board, and it goes off to some far-off unknown area, some other region. People have theorized about where this goes, and some people mainly believe that it goes to Anvil Town in Unova, and this leads to stuff that is much more a part of the last layer of this iceberg, whereas there's a lot of things that was happening pre-release that suggested you would be able to go to Unova from Kalos, and that they were directly next to each other and connected, especially when you look at the map and all this, and yada yada, and believe that maybe you possibly could have gone to even more regions than Unova. And it's a whole entire rabbit hole that, again, is at the last layer and will best be saved until then, but see this as a sneak peek to it. Victory Road Town/Pond in Distance. This is one of my favorite mysteries in the whole entire game, and one of the most obscure ones. Aside from a random post pointing it out, the only other time I've heard this brought up anywhere is how I found out about it was in the Rogue Renegade's first Pokemon Iceberg video, where this is brought up near the end, and in my opinion is a better video than his second versions, but I'm not going to go into that, obviously. Anyway, outside of Victory Road at the end, if you look far off into the distance on the right, then you will see this little pond in town area. It definitely looks like there's a dock, and it definitely looks like there's buildings on the dock. Now, what is this? This definitely seems like a real area that has people in it that you should be able to visit. People think it was probably part of a scrapped idea, an event, or see Drinkwater every time I bring that up. And yeah, aside from that, there's just nothing else we can say about it. And what makes it so intriguing is that this is just so much obscure and unnoticeable than all of the other mysteries from this game, which otherwise are kind of in your face and everybody else has pointed out. And yeah, like this is definitely the most fun and up to imagination mystery in the game, in my opinion. Monochrome Pokemon. When the game first came out, there was a palette glitch going on where a Pokemon would appear and they would look monochrome in color. They would have no color palettes. It would just be gray. Now, I say it like that because that's what it is. However, when this first happened, we didn't know that at first. And people thought that this was a new counterpart to shiny variants that's even rare. Like, you could get a shiny Pokemon, or there's an even slimmer chance a new hunt to begin where you can find monochrome Pokemon. And again, like the Luminos glitch, we don't know how this wasn't caught beforehand, and I don't know what exactly causes, again, aside from just being a palette glitch, but I don't know what made the palette glitch out in the first place. And yeah, it's really cool and interesting looking, and people assume that this was intentional, but it wasn't, and if you ask me, I like the way some of these look, and I feel like it definitely could have been an interesting and fun complement to shiny Pokemon. Version 1.5 changes. This is something that is probably nothing, but it's interesting to bring up anyways. So, if you look at the cutting floor and whatever, you can see the updates that happened through this game's lifetime and what they add to them. The last update, which happened alongside OROS, is 1.5, and there's nothing that we know about adding. Now, if you look it up, it just says like general bug fixes and blah blah blah, that thing that they always said that means nothing. Aside from that, we weirdly don't know what specifically this update did. When I first posted this Iceberg, somebody said that they would try to look into it, but I never heard any sort of response or follow-up to it. And it's just weird how there's this one update that we have no info on still. Now that does it for Deepwaters, and next is the last